population will increase by 50% by 2025. North Dakota already provides an income tax exclusion for all Railroad Retirement Board benefits received. Social Security benefits exclusion would be an extension of tax relief to all North Dakota retirees. Mr. Astrup said in a statement, taxing Social Security benefits received is nothing more than a senior citizen tax that hits the very people who worked a lifetime contributing to our state's prosperity. Residents are concerned about the rising cost of living, and ending the senior citizen tax is an innovative solution to provide real tax relief to seniors living on fixed incomes. Jason, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. I appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit more about this proposal.
Well, in essence, it's pretty simple, Rob. North Dakota is one of only 13 states in the country that taxes Social Security benefits. North Dakota is sitting on a pile of money. We had almost $1.4 billion in the unobligated general fund as of the end of the last biennium. And this proposal would only cost the state approximately $12 million per year, so less than 1% of that balance. And it just makes sense. Senior citizens are living on fixed income. We can do more, and we should do more.
How many filers? How many? You know, do we have a number on the number of people this would affect?
We have to go off the IRS data because the IRS is the one that determines which portion of your benefits is taxable, and the most recent data they have available is from 2011, and it's over 43,000 returns in North Dakota. So it affects a lot of people.
So $12 million for 43,000 people. And you're basically, and this is something that always strikes me as a little bit funny, because we have these races for offices like tax commissioner, insurance commissioner, and really your office isn't in charge of setting policy, right? So what you're basically saying is if elected from tax commissioner, you'll ask the legislature to do this, right?
Correct, Rob.
It is
up to the legislature to enact the laws of North Dakota. So.
Yeah. Okay. So why, why is it? I mean, in the past, North Dakota, one of only 13 states, has, and I'm trying to remember, has the legislature, has there been a bill to do this recently in the legislature?
I'm not aware of any bill. My opponent was quoted in the Bismarck Tribune. It says in the past it hasn't received any support in the legislature, but now is the time it definitely needs to go through. We have the money and the means to do it. It definitely makes sense.
701-293-9000 if you have any questions for our guest, Jason Astrup. He's running for tax commissioner, and his idea is that we shouldn't be taxing Social Security benefits. 701-293-9000, 888-970-9329. I haven't collected Social Security benefits yet. Does the federal government tax the Social Security benefits?
Yes, the federal government does. It started in 1984. Before that, they were tax-free.
Okay, so in 1984, so the federal government taxes them and North Dakota taxes them, and you're saying North Dakota should not tax them. Why, if we have, and here's something that worries me, is this going to be another exemption on the tax code? Is this going to make those tax forms we all have to fill out longer? That's the thing that bothers me about exempting certain types of income from taxes. It seems like every time we're doing that, we're just making the tax code more complicated.
It really wouldn't complicate it that much more. Now, North Dakota already gives an exemption for Railroad Retirement Board benefits. Social Security is a system very similar to that. You could probably include it on the same line as that exemption. So you wouldn't be adding anything. If you need to have a separate line, it's only adding one more line. I think it would be pretty simple to enact, and people would be easy for them to understand.
How's the campaign going otherwise?
It's going well.
Are you, what sort of issues? I mean, aside from this one, and obviously this is an issue you just put out, what other things are you campaigning on this season?
Property taxes is the big issue, I think, across the state. We definitely need to come up with some kind of a permanent property tax relief plan, and I'm still working on that, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you, and I'm ready to roll it out. Republicans,
I understand not ready to talk about your plan. Republicans would call what the legislature has done, what they describe, and I'm no fan of it. I think we're just shifting local costs to the state budget, something that's only enabled by the fact that we have so much money flowing into state coffers right now, which I think is a mistake to pretend like that's the new normal. So I'm not a big fan of the property tax relief, but when you talk to Republicans, they'll tell you it is permanent relief. We put it in place, and it's a permanent buy down of local property taxes. You don't like that reform?
What the legislature has done in the past, it's only been good for 2 years. So, and after the last session, when you wait till the last day to enact property tax relief, it can get people nervous. Are you going to get to it, or are you going to run out of time? We need to make this a priority, and it needs to be done right away.
But what they put into place was a permanent commitment to buying down school mills, was it not?
There's two different property tax plans. There's the school plan, and then there's the other one as well. And the other one is only good for 2 years. Right,
but the other one was only like $200 million, and then the school property tax was over $600 million. Correct?
I don't have the numbers right here in front of me, but we need to focus on the fact that it was not permanent. It was only good for 2 years. So if they don't reenact that or make it permanent, everyone's property taxes will go back up, and nobody wants to see that.
But the school portion of it was permanent, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. I mean, that's an ongoing commitment the state has now to buying down those local property tax mills, is it not? And I know you're talking about the $200 million, but there was an element of that was permanent, correct?
I don't have it right here in front of me, Rob. I guess I can take your word for it.
Okay, all right. Well, moving on. What other, as you've been going around the state, obviously you're in campaign mode now, where we're entering campaign season. As you're talking to North Dakota voters, what sort of things are they concerned about? I mean, what are you hearing that has got them riled up and ready, frankly, to vote for change in a state that's been trending, Republican for a long time now?
No, the issues run the gamut. It all depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to a retailer, some would like to see sales tax lowered to increase people's disposable income so people can afford to buy more in the stores. If you're talking to the homeowners, they want to see their property taxes lowered so they have more disposable income that they can afford to take a vacation, go around the state, spend money, or they can add on to their house or remodel their house. Other people would like to see their income taxes lowered. Our income tax rates are fairly low right now. Our top rate is 3.22%, and that doesn't kick in until your taxable income is almost $400,000.
Yeah, we have cut income taxes in North Dakota pretty significantly in multiple legislative sessions going back to 2009. In 2008, there was a ballot measure which would have cut the personal income tax by 50%. I think actually since then, the cuts that we've done in successive sessions have actually got us down below. So we are reducing the income tax. Some have called for eliminating the income tax altogether. What are your thoughts on that?
I view our tax system as a three-legged stool in the state. It needs to be a balanced approach. The main ones are the sales tax, the income tax, and the property tax. You can't fully do away with one of those three without upending the system.
Why? No. I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot when we talk about the three-legged stool, and it's deployed all the time whenever it seems like we talk about either eliminating one of the taxes or even just reducing one of the taxes. It's always, well, if we cut that tax, then this tax will have to be in, and the stool will be wobbly or something like that. Isn't that really just sort of a triangulation where you can attack any form of tax relief at all? I mean, I really dislike this three-legged stool analogy. I hear it from our state's leaders all the time, and I feel like a lot of times it's just you're just sort of triangulating against any sort of proposed tax reforms.
No, we do need to have some tax relief. Our state is very fortunate right now to have the resources we do, and I think we need to pass those savings on to the citizens here of North Dakota.
701-293-9000, 888-970-9329. Jason, you're kind of a newcomer to statewide politics anyway. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What made you decide to run for tax commissioner?
I guess, to be honest with you, it was the last session, legislative session, the lack of focus on fixing the property tax system in the state, waiting until the last minute. I just think we need some better leadership here in the state, and I was happy to throw my name in the ring.
You say in your release, during the 2013 legislative session, the Republican supermajority tried to push through a 30% reduction in the oil extraction tax that would have cost the state $1.3 billion in the first 5 years alone. The Republican supermajority had no problem pushing through a corporate tax cut where 82% of the benefits go to out-of-state corporations. Were you against cutting the corporate tax? Because you said the legislative session was the reason why you're running. You were against cutting the corporate income tax?
I'm not against cutting taxes at all, Rob. You know, it's a matter of priorities. I think we need to look at helping the citizens and businesses here in our state first.
Well, you say in your press release that, I mean, the way you describe the corporate tax cut was, it seems like you're kind of casting it in a negative light. You said the Republican supermajority had no problem pushing through a corporate tax cut where 82% of the benefits go to out-of-state corporations. That's in your release.
Yep, and it's just that, you know, 82% of that went to out-of-state people. That didn't help people here in our state. We need to focus tax relief on the people that are here in North Dakota.
But the tax cut passed, the corporate tax cut passed, it wasn't targeting specifically. It was a tax cut for all corporations in the state.
Correct,
the fact that
we got to look at our priorities. You know, how much of that tax cut really helped the people here in the state. You know, we need to worry about people in our state.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. 701-293-9000, 888-970-9329. Got to go to a break now. Jason, thank you so much for your time. Certainly appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you. Jason
Astrup running for tax commissioner for the state of North Dakota. I'm Rob Port, sitting in for Mike Capel on the Mike Capel Show. Going to go to some news, and we'll be back. Ryan Rauschenberger, the Republican candidate for tax commissioner, will be joining us at 10 o'clock, so tune in for that. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
But
of course, give his point of view on it as well. Is a Republican the current incumbent tax commissioner Ryan Rauschenberger, who is running for election. You were Ryan. You were appointed by Governor Dalrymple. You're running. You're on the ballot for the first time.
Rob, thanks for having me on. Yep, on the ballot for the first time. The campaign's going great. A lot of support financially and from family and friends. Been around the state, hitting the parades, rural electric cooperative meetings, everything that's all about a campaign. So it's been great.
701-293-9000, 888-970-9329, or you can tweet me at Rob Port if you have any comments or questions for Mr. Rauschenberger. Ryan, we had your opponent, Mr. Astrup, on the program. He has an idea. He says North Dakota is currently one of only 13 states in the country that tax and Social Security benefits received. It is estimated that North Dakota's senior population will increase 50% by 2025. He is saying that we have almost $1.4 billion remaining in the unobligated general fund as of the last biennium. He says ending the senior citizen tax, which is what he describes the tax of Social Security benefits, ending it will cost approximately $12 million and will impact about 43,000 North Dakota citizens. Is this a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, you know, I'm all for reducing taxes as much as we possibly can for everybody in North Dakota. Just so your listeners know that since 2009, we've reduced individual income taxes by 38%. We have some of the lowest individual income taxes in the nation. Our lowest bracket is 1.22%, and that's up to an income of $36,000. And we really have made great strides in lowering individual income taxes for North Dakota taxpayers. As far as the plan, this idea has been proposed before, and I'd like to talk about kind of what I like to say the art of the possible. We have existing programs that are targeted towards seniors and tax relief, and we have what's called the homestead tax credit here in North Dakota. It's been a hugely successful program. It's the state reducing property taxes for those 65 and older and lower income individuals, and we doubled that program last session. And it is significant. If you're a person living in a home and your income, and I'm talking about a low income individuals that are 65 and older, if you're in a $100,000 home here in Bismarck, we will reduce your property taxes by over $1,000. Now that is significant because we're talking property tax relief, and that's where I hear, 9 out of 10 complaints, if anything, is that it's property taxes that people are worried about and not their income tax.
Looking at, you just cited that figure, and I'm just doing a little bit of back of the envelope, based on the figures that Mr. Astrup is using. He's saying the senior citizen tax will cost approximately $12 million per year. That benefit would go to 43,000 people. Back of the envelope, that's about $279, almost $280 per person in tax relief. You're talking about the homestead tax credit, $1,000 in relief.
Well, and again, that's the best benefit in the homestead tax credit. So it's a graduated scale. As you have more income, we doubled the limitation of the program from, it used to be limited out at if you had $26,000 or more of income, you were kicked out of the program. We expanded that at the eligibility and doubled it to have, you can have up to $42,000 of income and be eligible for this homestead tax credit program. Now, to that average number that you're talking about, just so you know, a couple different things. North Dakota is really federalized when it comes to income tax. So if you do have some taxable Social Security benefits at the federal level, that will become a starting point for your North Dakota federal or your state taxable income. But keep in mind, taxation of Social Security benefits only kicks in at a certain point, and even according to the Social Security Administration, this usually only happens if you have other substantial incomes such as wages, self-employment, interest, and dividends. For example, if you're an individual either renting, living at home, living on a $20,000 a year Social Security check, and that's your only income, you don't even have to file federally or in North Dakota. You're not taxed. So there is a subset there where it's a progressive taxation, where if you all of a sudden have, your Social Security check, but you also have significant wages, if you're still working in dividends and have your own business, self-employment, you have your interest of investments is substantial, then it starts to gradually start taxing a fraction of your Social Security benefits. So it's key to remind your viewer or your listeners that it really is a very progressive taxation of rolling in Social Security benefits.
One of the things, as I was talking to Mr. Astrup, and you mentioned it as well, you said nine out of 10, I forget the number that you quoted, but you said most of the time you're hearing from people upset about the property tax. Mr. Astrup said the reason he got into the race was the property tax issue. He was disappointed with the legislature handling the property tax issue during the session, that it went all the way to the end. I guess apparently had some confusion. He was saying that the property tax was temporary. There was a portion, my understanding is, that was just a 2-year, $200 million appropriation to property tax relief, but there was a roughly $660 million appropriation to buy down the school tax levy. That's the quote unquote permanent tax relief. But I guess my question for you is, are you satisfied with what the legislature's done on property taxes?
I think the legislature and the governor have done a great job in reducing property taxes. In Fargo alone, property taxes have gone down 25% from 2012 to 2013. I've had people come up to me and say that they're extremely happy with seeing their property tax bills go down like they did. That is, the school reduction is permanent. That is a per-pupil payment, an increased per-pupil payment from the state to schools in exchange for capping their mills at a lower mill. The old average of mills in North Dakota used to be about 100.
I have a caller here, Rob, that didn't want to go on the air.
This is
just stating that North Dakota taxes are 10th highest in the nation.
Really at 70 mills. That is a huge reduction in mills since 2009. And like I said, I've had great reactions from the citizens as far as the property tax relief that has been passed.
Ryan, we had a caller off the air. He didn't want to come on the air, but he said, and I wanted to, I guess, just get his comment out there. He wanted me to tell you that North Dakota's taxes are the 10th highest in the nation. I don't know what specific taxes he's talking about or what ranking he's using for that, but that's what the caller said. I wanted to get your reaction.
It'd be tough for me to respond to that, too,
sure,
not knowing exactly what ranking or study he's looking at. Now, per capita, if we look at income per capita or taxes per capita, we get dinged a lot. And when you look at our incomes, it's growing faster than any other state in the nation. So our incomes are getting higher. So, of course, people are paying more tax. But keep in mind, we are reducing income tax rates. But we do have some of the fastest growing individual incomes per capita. And that kind of works against you in certain rankings, but that's good for the people of North Dakota. I mean, that means more income more money they can spend on taxable sales and purchases. Go out and spend things at retail stores, and that generates more tax. And it's kind of a circular issue, but we get hit in a lot of rankings too. And if it has to do with all tax collections per capita, which I think is kind of flawed, it brings in oil taxes and extraction taxes. And as you know, we just hit 1 million barrels a day. We are collecting about $300 million a month in oil taxes. And if you include that in a per capita calculation, of course we're going to be way up there in a ranking. And I don't think that's fair, because that is a business tax.
Well, it's not a per capita tax
on the individuals.
That's a per barrel tax, not a per capita tax. It might make more sense if you're talking about the income tax, which we all pay, or the sales tax, which we all pay. But really, the amount of oil tax that we collect doesn't have anything to do with population or anything like that, but the amount of oil that we're producing, right? So
exactly, and we every year we kind of deal with that issue of when you throw the oil taxes in, just kind of our whole tax scheme. It does tend to skew, because a lot of these studies are per capita. And again, I can't speak for the caller. I just know that's an issue that has pushed us up in those rankings before.
Ryan, can you hold through the break? I had a couple other questions from Mr. Astrup's release that I wanted to ask you about.
Absolutely, you bet.
All right, Ryan Rauschenberger, he's our current tax commissioner. He's running for election. He's on the ballot for the first time. His challenger, Jason Astrup, was on the program earlier. If you have a question, 701-293-9000, 888-970.
Eric Johnson.
9329. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. But he says in his press release, I quote, "The Republican supermajority had no problem pushing through a corporate tax cut where 82% of the benefits go to out-of-state corporations. If we could cut corporate taxes, then we could surely end the senior citizen tax." I've heard that claim from Democrats a couple of times, where we cut the corporate tax and most of the proceeds go to out-of-state. How do you react to that?
Well, that's an interesting question. We get that a lot, and actually defining what is an out-of-state corporation is just as difficult as anything. I think that the key here is that, they're paying tax here in North Dakota because they're here, they're employing people, they are, they're generating jobs. I mean, frankly, you're going to have one business across the street that gets that's organized as like a pass-through or an LLC and gets the benefit of the individual income tax, but a similar business that's organized as a corporation across the street, for whatever legal reason, you doesn't get any kind of relief. There's an equity issue there. There's a fairness issue. And keep in mind, we have reduced corporate income taxes over time. But think about it. In fiscal year 2009, we collected $99 million from corporate income tax. We've reduced corporate income taxes since then, and it nearly doubled, $187 million in fiscal year 13. Now, I know that those reductions have helped retain businesses here, and it's really about the employment base. It's not really about the businesses. It's about keeping those employees here that are working for those businesses, that are earning income, paying the individual income tax, going out and spending sales tax dollars, and it's about economic development. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, we've been able to reduce that down to a reasonable level to be competitive with other states. That's really what it's about. The legislature wanted to get below 5%. They've achieved that over the last couple sessions. That was a goal because we were higher than other states. And when I used to work for the Commerce Department on economic development, and, corporations look at these rates and go, you know what, if you're going to be at 6.5%, but I can go somewhere else where there's a 4% rate, that affects my bottom line, and I'm not going to move there. So it's really about economic development and making sure that we're just being competitive with other states. But most of our businesses, actually, we have twice as many businesses that are registered and pay through the individual income tax system and the corporate income tax system, which I think is an interesting statistic for people to know.
What's really pretty remarkable is something you alluded to, and as somebody I've been following the revenue reports out of the Office of the Manager and Budget, and it's been remarkable that even as we've cut income taxes, and I think we've cut them every legislative session since 2009, even as we've been reducing, the income tax rates for both individuals and corporations, collections from individuals and corporations have been increasing. So even as we cut the rates, the revenue is going up, which is just remarkable. You would expect it to go down.
Well, right. And, our economic base has grown so much since 2009. We have some of the fastest growing adjusted gross incomes in North Dakota. We have more businesses here, more businesses registered. That base has really grown. And it's really because of our business climate, our tax structure, and our regulatory climate. And because of that, we've really been the envy of the nation. And I know that the legislature coming up will continue to put in place good policies. I think there might even be more room for additional rate cuts for individual income tax. I think that's absolutely possible. I've heard legislators talking about it, and we'll be right there in the session working with it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ryan, this morning, and certainly appreciate it, and look forward to hearing more from you as the campaign goes on.